Hey listeners, today our sponsor is our friends at Empire Flippers. We've been pals with the team behind this brand for years, and we've seen them become the largest curated M&A marketplace in the industry for buying and selling e-commerce businesses. If you're the owner of a profitable e-commerce store and you have ever thought about selling your brand for a massive profit, there's never been a better time than right now. You can check out what your e-commerce store is valued at by going to empireflippers.com/valuation-tool. Just answer a few simple questions and they'll give you an automated valuation based on real sales data from businesses just like yours that sold on their platform. On with the show. Hello and welcome to All Killer No Filler. It's Friday and I'm Eric Dick and I am back again with Pilot House Pals, Julian Normand, head of email, and Robin Holdsworth, our lead designer. Today we're talking about all kinds of fun things, including email versus SMS, the beauty of two-step opt-ins, and a little bit about email design principle. Let's start over the top, Julian. I think of you kind of like that meme where, there's a gentleman walking along and he's with a woman, but he sees another woman and he's turning his head kind of thing. I feel like, I know we've recently been doing some really cool things with SMS. How are your like love levels feeling right now versus SMS versus email?
Oof, it's a tough call. Email, you get so much of that visual aspect to it. You can really make a fluid and dynamic design. So I really love that part about email, but man, it's just crazy to see the ROI on SMS and the response rate. And of course you can add graphics, GIFs, emojis to an SMS. Just costs you a little bit more, but it's often negatable the difference that those add-ons will contribute to your bottom line when you're sending out emails, and it does, or sorry, sending out SMS, and it does really increase your cost. So I'm right now, I'm pretty torn, to be honest. We're seeing great results on both, so it's hard to say.
Are there any roadblocks for brands getting into SMS, or is it sort of like full court press? Everyone wants to get an SMS program going on. If there are roadblocks, what are they?
I think a lot of people are actually really hesitant. Like a lot of brands that we talk to, it's like something when I'm having a prospect conversation, or like, I'm pitching something to a client. Typically it's kind of like the dark horse, right? Like people don't recognize its value quite yet, I think. And in fact, like just this week, I had a conversation with a client who were doing amazing numbers on email for us. So like the trust is there. And I said the word SMS and they like sucked up and they said, I don't really think that I don't think we want to text message people. I said, oh, why do you feel like that? And he was like, no, I just feel like it's spammy. I feel like it's bothering people. Like, who wants to hear from us on their phone? And I thought to myself, I was like, man, there's so many people that think like this that could be doing so much revenue on this channel.
And I understand it's a very personal channel, but that's a really great example of a business owner, I think, thinking about things the way they think about things, and less about, like it's such the norm at this point for brands to be using that channel. The best brands, of course, use it sparingly and impactfully, but it's interesting that it's those mind frames you got to get over to see the benefits from it.
Yeah, I mean, usually once you show them the return on investment, or like a sneak peek at another account that you're doing and how much it costs versus how much they make, they usually loosen up pretty quick, though.
Nice. But still, overall, in terms of messages sent, we're still it's probably sending vastly more emails than we are SMSs.
Yeah, like much higher, at least 4 to 5 times more emails per week or per month than SMS. We use SMS sparingly, like you said. It's a much more one-to-one communication. And it's much more conversational. Although we do hammer sales through it just as hard as we do on email. That personal connection with people's phone, you have to treat it gently and carefully.
Nice. And then Robin, we're going to dive into some more stuff around email design specifically, but are there any factors that go from a designer's point of view? What's your take on this email versus SMS sort of paradigm?
I think a lot of the things you have to consider are like text size, like images, how big they're going to be, if it's going to be legible, if it's not going to be. A lot of people use icons in their emails. and sometimes they're not legible when you're looking over a phone. Like, what is that little thing, you know? Like, so I personally love designing when it's meant for a desktop, but you got to just be strategic in what you're showing, what you're displaying over a phone.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Robin. You know, a lot of the times, in fact, just today, I got a text marketing message from a company, and they had basically just taken an email, like a full length email image, and slapped it into their SMS and sent it off to me. And it was like barely legible. Even the hero image was really, really tough to see. It just, I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, these guys aren't thinking from a mobile first perspective. And you really do have to. The simpler you can make that graphic, and the more legible, the more attention it'll get, and the more likely you are to get a conversion on it.
And the same with text length as well.
Yeah, and you know, keeping your messages under a certain length is really the best way to stay cost efficient with SMS marketing. And once you add imagery or you add emojis, you're almost guaranteed to go over the one message length. But it just kind of depends on the impact you want to have, and what sort of sales you're looking to drive. And if you really need, like, we always like to think minimally from a text perspective, because the tighter you can keep that message and still get the click, the easier it's going to be for you to get a really, really positive ROI from the platform.
Nice. Okay, so on to our next topic here, which is a bit around how you actually get the mobile addresses. You know, we do lead generation for our newsletter, and I've often thought, you know, how great would it be to have SMS numbers here and potentially build that into referral programs or things like that. But we don't want to mess with our opt-in. We just keep collecting that email. And I'm sure a lot of brands just love, you know, that minimal amount of info they can collect with their email. But what are we doing with SMSs to collect that info as well?
Yeah, so we've actually implemented across all of our accounts that are willing to do it, what we're calling the two-step opt-in. And basically what that is it's your standard, your standard pop-up, whether it's modal or fly-in or whatever the format is. And you take the basic first step is just, you know, hey, here's your incentive. Here's what we want from you to get it. That's your email. And then we actually, it's a little bit subversive, but it actually converts really well. And we think on the back end, from the numbers that we see, we're quite happy with this process. And basically, you gate the incentive or the offer behind a second step. So first pop-up asks for your email. You enter your email, it goes away. Second pop-up comes up and says, you know, hey, you're almost there, or, you know, complete your form entry, which is your SMS number, to get your discount or your incentive or whatever that is. And one of the things that when we first tried it, it was really, we were really hesitant about it. We were like, oh man, this isn't going to convert at all. It's going to be really tough to get people to buy into this. And we were just blown away at the numbers on conversion rates for that.
Very cool. And what do you mean by that exactly? The number of people who completed both steps?
Yeah, so the number of people who completed both steps, like on average, we will see, and this is different brand to brand, but on average, we will see like a 7 to 9% completion rate across both steps. But what's really, really interesting is that most of the time, we're getting a 30 to 50 or higher percent opt-in rate on that second step. And part of that is, you know, the person wanting to get their discount, the time commitment and the like energy level commitment of already entering your info, right? Like you kind of want to get through it, you want to get your reward. So you end up entering your other info there, your other bit of info for your SMS. But the really nice part about that, where we actually utilize it as a way to add value to the customer, is that we're letting them essentially sign up in as many ways as possible, very, very simply, and then choose which platform they prefer to be messaged on. And I think that is a really, really important part of the process that that a lot of brands who may be apprehensive to adopting this technique really need to consider, because at the end of the day, if somebody is giving you their info, they want to hear from you. And if you can find a way to connect with them that is, you know, as frictionless as possible for them, you're going to really get good results early on in that first interaction with them.
And one that they chose.
And one that they've chose. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. So do you have any data on the conversion rate of just a single form versus a two-step form? Like, are you going to lose some conversions there, but they'll be higher quality?
Yeah, we found when we were asking for both up front, we were getting like the standard ecom rate, which is like anywhere from 2 to 3%. Anytime you add an extra form field, you're going to lower your conversion rate on a display. So seeing that basically double even with a second step, that's like our typical ratio. We'll see like it usually double across both steps. And be able to get all that information up front from people with much less friction from the user perspective.
Very cool. What modal are you using to gather that information? Is that a Shopify thing? Is that a plugin?
Yeah, so we actually we have a partnership with Privy Pop-ups, and they have a really slick way of presenting and delivering all of their pop-ups, and that was kind of why we chose them originally. And then they contacted us when they saw how many accounts we were signing up for them and said, hey, we've got this new two-step pop-up. We really want to beta test it. Do you guys want to try it out with one of your clients? And we were really excited to be able to be one of the first people to roll it out for them.
Very cool. Nice. Great. Always great when we can unearth knowledge bombs like that on the podcast. And now, Robin, one of the things I learned about you when we first met, Robin, I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but he designed our logo in about 30 seconds when he changed our brand name from direct to consumer to D2C, DTC. And then he just went into a fugue state and did our logo very quickly. And I also learned that you had also worked at 7-Eleven on their newsletter as well. So you have some really good newsletter experience.
Yeah. They delivered a newsletter about twice a week. Very intricate, like tons of different offers. And they were changing the brand of like their campaign every month or so. So it was a whole new whack of fonts to download, and a whole new like color scheme that changed. So it was intense for sure.
Yeah, you cut your teeth there, I'm sure. And you've been instrumental, with the design aspect of the newsletter as well as what goes into our emails here. I wanted to ask one of the points you brought up that I thought was really great is what's your position on calls to action in emails, where they should go, when they should go, and how they should look?
Yeah, really good question. I think that I might rant a little bit here, so pardon me, but when you're sending a newsletter and like a well thought out newsletter, you're essentially sending like a little website over like online. Hey, Julian, like we would spend over a day or two on some newsletters that were like really intricate, multiple offers. They had a specific campaign that we were trying to drive home, and what we would usually do to strategize is we would have the hero at the top. That's like, okay, what's the main offer that we're trying to bring home with the viewer, and then we would give some information about that offer, and then that's when the call to action happens. So it's like, okay, they found out there's this specific discount on this product. They know that it's a summer sale. They know that the product has this, and this. Well, now what? Like, well, now go and buy it. So here's the call to action. Here's where you do it. Here's where you click. And it's very apparent what the button looks like and everything, and the color scheme and all that. It's very branded. And then it's kind of like, it's the opposite of Facebook, where you want people to stop their scroll. You want people to continue scrolling in newsletters. So it's like, okay, I see the call to action. I see that there's an offer there, but like, what's this other offer they got going right beneath that, And then it's a whole other hero image. It's a whole other campaign, maybe not campaign, but a whole other strategy that we're trying to implement. And we want to get them to click as much as possible. So at the end of every offer or strategy or whatever we're trying to display to the to the client or customer, it's always ended with a call to action.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that's a really good point, and all too often you see emails that aren't segmented out properly like that, where they'll change the direction in the email. They're trying to push you to something entirely different, and they don't offer that call to action. And you really, really need to offer that at every possible opportunity, because you just don't know where you're going to pique somebody's curiosity. And it's funny because a lot of the time, especially at the bottom of an email, I find is where it's really lacking. Is like some people will just see the hero, see the first bit of text, and then they literally grab their phone and they just wing it all the way to the bottom and are expecting to see a call to action. And if they don't see it at the bottom of that segment, or they don't see it in the segment that they stop on, you could lose the click. It's such a short attention span when especially when somebody's checking email on their mobile.
We're chatting a little bit about newsletters here, but I'm also just interested from an e-commerce brand owner perspective. What are those instances? Like I imagine a lot of the emails you're sending are pretty short with a bit of text, an image, a call to action. What are there other kinds of, like, I know some brands do send newsletters as well, but are there other kinds of longer form emails that you send where the segmenting of things is uber important?
Yeah, I would say, like, in general, if we send a long email, we try and keep the message pretty unilateral. You want to provide many opportunities for people to click through and have those call to actions, but typically you don't often want to confuse. You don't want to confuse them and try and link them out to too many different places. I would say, like, typically if we're going to do a long form campaign or a newsletter or anything like that for like a product launch, you'll really only have 1 to 2, maybe 3 areas that you want to send them to, and you kind of structure it in a way so that as they go further down the email, they're getting more and more targeted to a conversion, right? Like, if I know that if the person gets 3/4 of the way down the email, chances are they've read the first half, and we know that that person is more invested than the person who just clicks on the hero image right at the top, or the CTA right at the top. You do have a little bit more intent further down than you would at the top of the email.
Nice. Yeah, a bit of an exchange there. Nice. Like, I know it's going to depend on the campaigns, obviously. But what are instances where plain text works better than emails that have heavy design elements?
I mean, it's really, really brand dependent, but honestly, it can also be it can be a really great way to imitate. Like, I mean, ideally, you want the message to be coming from somebody conversationally, but we all know that that doesn't happen very often. So it's a really great way, using plain text, to imitate that really personal feel of an email. And you'll find this a lot with, like, SaaS platforms. They'll send out a email with a avatar of a customer service rep. It's all plain text. That email is not coming from that service rep. Usually it's automated, but it gives that feel of a really one-to-one connection. And then I would say the other,
Just on that note, quickly, the sneaky thing that we've tested it before, and I used to get with Neil Patel, you see this in info, where you'll literally have a customer service rep have a forwarded email from, like, say, Neil Patel, and it'll say, make sure you reach out to Eric at this guy. You want to make sure you have a contact with him. And then the rep would say, hey, Neil reached out to me to make sure I said hi to you. And that could all be done through forms, but it was like a really compelling thing. Like, oh, Neil wants to talk with me.
yeah, absolutely. And I think in one of our threads, was it over like Black Friday or one of the other holidays, we somebody sent through one from the Hustle, and it was like Sam Parr had, like, slipped and hit the send button to his whole list, but he was actually sending it to, he was trying to send it to his intern to tell him to make sure all the links worked. So you can get really, really tricky with it, right? Like, you can subversively make people think that they're privy to a conversation that they shouldn't be. You can ingratiate them with that feeling of, like, exclusivity. And then another way that we find plain text really effective is actually as an alternative testing method for deliverability. So if we find we come into a client interaction where they've been sending all image emails for months and months and months and months, and they just can't figure out why their deliverability is really low, well, that's like usually the first thing we'll test is like, hey, we're gonna split test your plain text version of your email with your image heavy stuff or your all image stuff, and see what the results are. And it's actually quite surprising at some stages in that journey what the difference is in open rate.
That's really cool. Let's finish off just by chatting a little bit about D2C. Julian's been helping us with the emails on the D2C side as well, and he recently implemented a win-back sequence, a way for us to sort of take users who haven't engaged with our emails in a while and get them to, you say, hey, we're going to take you off the list, kind of thing. And what was really interesting is I think we started it at like a 4-week period with people that have maybe not opened in 4 weeks, which for us is 2 emails a week, which is 8. So we thought, okay, if they haven't opened us in 8, we'll start sending them these messages. And the amount of people that I got writing back to me to be saying like, oh, I haven't opened the last 8, but I'm just waiting till next week when I'm going to read them all. And we've had to do that a couple times now where people kind of keep complaining that even though they're not opening the emails, they like receiving them and that they plan on opening them at a later date in the future. I feel like it's an interesting point.
It is interesting. And you know what? Coming from a primarily e-com perspective, it was really interesting to hear that, because it wasn't really something that I had thought was going to be part of our process on D2C. But I mean, clearly the results speak for themselves. Like, how many emails have you got now from people who are just like, no, I love the content. Please don't cut me off the list. I want to make sure I still get these.
Yeah, like dozens. So everyone out there, open your damn emails, right? Like, just make sure you open the email, give it a little read, give it a little scroll. Visit our sponsors. This is how you support the D2C newsletter and podcast. No, but it was a vote of just have so many people say that they took comfort knowing that they had them all, that they know there's so much like valuable information in there that they want to be able to reference them. They want to be able to have them go back into them. That's the thing that we notice on our like the big thing that's different about newsletters versus more transactional or sales emails as well is like your goal is to get them on that email and then off somewhere else completing an action in most cases. Whereas with the newsletter, like our average user opens it 3 times. We have people who open it 50, 60 times, literally going in, making sure they get every last piece of value out of it, which is a very different mind frame in terms of even how you talk about CTR and open rate and all that stuff. Like we're getting tens of thousands of opens on every issue. And that's from, thousands of people who love the content. So it's been fun.
Yeah, I think when you provide that much value, people will just constantly want to come back and back. And if the content is dense as well, and you want to, and you can be like, okay, well, I've got 5 minutes. I'm going to read this part of the newsletter, get my info out of it, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to finish off the rest. And I hadn't really considered that when we were building the win back series. I think when we first started, we had said like, 2 weeks is good.
Yeah. We're like, no, we gotta keep people around on the list a little.
Yeah. What are we at now? Like almost 3 months?
I think, yeah, 9 weeks. Yeah. 10 weeks. So yeah, I think you're safe on our list. We're not going to be booting you off anytime soon. But as I said, open the damn emails. Open your brand's emails for Julian, open the 7-Eleven email for Robin.
Don't.
Just for old time's sake. Is anything else to add from the design world these days, Robin?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's almost like free advertising with some newsletters. Like what I like to do when creating a newsletter, I almost always put the logo of the company at the very top, so that when they open the newsletter, they know exactly what brand they're dealing with and who they're, vibing with. And so even if your customer opens the email and just sees the logo and then closes it, that logo is again implanted in their subconscious, and they're going to be thinking about it whether they like it or not. Like just the fact that they saw the logo that's an advertisement right there. So
yep. That's great. That's great insight. And Julian, on all sales emails, I assume you've got the logo near the top.
Yeah, we do actually, and it does. It really reinforces the brand. Like if you were to send somebody an email from the brand as a sender, and you don't have that in there, and we've actually tested this. Like if you don't have the brand at the top, you'll find that you can get a lower click-through rate, and because we use pretty advanced tracking, you'll actually get like a lower read rate, or sorry, length of read to it as well. So like people, if they're that you'll have a higher amount of people who read for like 1 second or a couple seconds, as opposed to people who absorb most of the content.
I love it. It's going to improve brand recall, and just, it's the same reason our header sponsorship goes at the top there. It's like every single person who opens that sees that brand, right? So that's what makes it so valuable. It's just that awareness at the very, very top of funnel. And as you say, Robin, it is, hey, it's free traffic, so take advantage of it once those emails are yours.
100%.
Nice. All right. Thanks for coming on today. You keep sipping your coffee mug there, Robin. I got to get a coffee mug of my own for Friday afternoon here, and enjoy the beautiful weather out here in Victoria. Maybe we can meet up on a patio this weekend.
That would be great.
All right. Well, let's talk about it.
I need to get back into the spike ball. I need to get back in shape.
That's right. Viking chess will play some Coob.
There you go. Yeah. I love it.
Nice.
Later,
Thanks,
guys.
Eric.
Later.